Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Difanis. I had the privilege of serving as the 2018 president of the Illinois Realtors, and I want to talk to you for a few minutes about why fair housing matters. It's April. It's Fair Housing Month, as we celebrate that every year, and I was guilty of not realizing that fair housing mattered until I was 20 years into my career. I mentioned that I was president of the Illinois Realtors in 2018. Quite honestly, the only reason that I ended up having an opportunity, in spite of myself, to take a deep dive into the history of housing discrimination in our industry and the history of fair housing and why fair housing matters today was because the year I was president corresponded with the 50-year anniversary of the Federal Fair Housing Act. Indeed, I was present when we dedicated the monument that sits in front of the Illinois Realtors headquarters in Springfield. But it was only because I was on the leadership team as the Illinois Realtors was preparing its 50-year retrospective that I got my first exposure to the brutal history of housing discrimination and the role that our industry played in that. Like a lot of people, especially people who look like me, I learned enough fair housing vocabulary to get my license, and literally only starting this year, 2025, we only now have to remember enough fair housing content to keep a license. Once you got your license, you didn't have any responsibility for ongoing fair housing training, and that's changing effective this year. That's a new thing. To me, once I had the chance to learn about this, it really became important to me that nobody else do what I did, which is be allowed to get 20 years into a real estate career having no idea how important this is. A lot of what I teach and speak about is educating realtors about our industry's role in housing discrimination in the past. But something that I'm incredibly proud of is how realtors are on the right side of history and how we lead in this space today. Housing discrimination is still rampant. It still exists all over the place. I tell people all the time, I've never worn blinders, certainly not willfully, in this business. But discrimination tends not to play out in front of me. And I've learned it just generally often doesn't play out very conspicuously in front of people that look like me. The risk is that my senses are telling me it's not happening. I know better now because I have a lot of friends that don't look like me, whose stories have really changed me and I can't unhear. Realtors lead in this space. I had a colleague in my office just a few weeks ago where she didn't know chapter and verse what was wrong, but she knew something was wrong. And she knew that she needed to give me a call and get some guidance. She had a client who was nearly denied the ability to live in the housing that her finances easily could afford because she was a single mother with minor children. And this was an association that thought that they could deny her application to live there on that basis. The agent from my office didn't have to know all of the details of the various layers of local, state, federal, and code of ethics implications. All she really needed to know in that moment is, I need to call Matt and get some guidance. And after talking to me, after I had shared with her some resources, she was able to do an intervention to get that association redirected, scared straight, and in a very, very short period of time, somebody who was this close to being denied the ability to live where her money would take her and where she wanted to be able to live with her family. She was this close to losing that on the basis of a protected class. And who stood between her and housing discrimination? A realtor, a rank and file realtor who didn't even know all the technical details but knew this isn't right and I have to make a phone call. Realtors lead in this space, whether it is on the basis of race or nationality or sexual orientation or gender identity, and those are both protected classes in our code of ethics. Realtors lead in fair housing spaces, and realtors are needed more than ever right now.